Welcome to New Broker, the podcast dedicated to providing insights and inspiration for building a new broking business.
Hello and welcome back to New Broker. I'm your host for today, Annie Kane. In this week's podcast, we're chatting to Andrew Wallace, a mortgage broker with Crowd Property Capital Lending Solutions, who also has the claim of being one of the biggest wrestlers on the Pro Wrestling Australia roster. By day, he's crunching numbers, sealing deals, and helping clients secure their dream properties. But by night, he's body slamming opponents in the ring, flexing muscle and might as the one and only Backman. One half of the tag team terror, The Regime, Andrew doesn't just talk tough on wrestling strategy. He's also creating budgeting regimes for his client base and making sure they're in shape for their home loan dreams. From suplexes to settlements, today we're finding out how Andrew Backman Wallace has grappled a career in finance to create a successful broking business. Welcome, Andrew. How are you going?
Doing very well, thank you. I might steal that from suplexes to settlements. That's a really good line. That's a t-shirt.
You can have it.
That's a t-shirt right
there. We
there.
go. We got it. And I'm so glad I pronounced that right, because I was like, I've never actually said that word out loud before.
Oh, no, you have. So there you go.
Well, I mean, I think what a great story to like chat to you about. Firstly, your broking career as a new broker, but also I think your outside career as a wrestler. We're definitely going to have a few questions about that, I think. But firstly, for anyone who's not had the pleasure of meeting Andrew, where are you based and how long have you been broking for?
So I'm based out in Lake Macquarie, so a little town called Bolton Point, and I've been brokering since October last year.
Yeah, so relatively new to the scene, but you've been in the industry a couple of years before that because you started off loan writing.
Correct, yes.
I wonder, though, what brought you into this industry in the first place? Like, what were you doing before?
Well, it all started roughly about 10 years ago. So I was actually studying at the University of Canberra. I was doing forensic science.
Of course, yeah. It's a natural segue into broking.
Natural segue into broking, of course. And at one point, I just sort of ran out of money. They wanted me to study 5 days a week. I just didn't have time to do any jobs, stuff like that. So I decided to put my uni studies on hold for 12 months and go find myself a full-time job. So then I ended up selling cars for a little bit as well. And then I was making some decent money when it came there. But then I really started talking to the finance manager there. And he pretty much told me, hey, look, listen, we're here 60 hours a week, whatever it is. I earn 3 times more than you. If you want to earn some money, you got to work with money. And it just made way too much sense to me.
Yeah, so car sales into broking. So, I mean, that would have been a great foundation, I think, were you in a showroom, like selling cars that way?
Yeah, I was in showroom.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough gig. You're like, people always are like, I don't want to talk to anyone, and kind of like having to push through and have those conversations. But then at the end of the day, talking to people about cars, pretty fun, I'd imagine.
Oh, it's pretty fun. Yeah, exactly. But then it's just about doing the right approach as well. If you have a friendly face and people know like, oh, it's not a sleazy salesperson, then, they're more inclined to talk to you. So that's what I found.
So then when you started deciding that you were going to go into the broking industry, did you think about any other kinds of forms of finance, like whether it was, wealth planning or accounting, or did you kind of find someone and go, actually, I'll just be loan writing with you?
So first thing I did all my certificate for and finance and mortgage broking, and then I found a brokerage firm that was like, no, we'll take you on, we'll take you under our wing, things like that. It was strictly commission based as well, so it was a very tough struggle for those first couple of months there, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Did that surprise you? Like, I wonder when people come into broking from outside of industry, not like if you're not kind of well researched, you can kind of be like, oh my God, I'm not going to make any money for like 6 months to a year because if you don't get settlements for a while.
Exactly. It was very surprising when I found that out, but I knew that a bit of short-term pain for a long-term sort of solution, it was really, really good. But my first interview there, he said, how do you feel about a 70-30 split? I had no idea what he was talking about, put it that way.
Great. I feel great about that. I don't know what that means.
He's like, doesn't that sound amazing? I'm like, I guess so.
Yeah.
I got no idea.
Yeah. Well, then do you find that loan writing kind of gave you a good foundation for becoming your own broker and kind of like stepping up to the plate? Like, was that always your intention when you started?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I always wanted to sort of be out on my own. My first week in the job, I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. So I knew I found the right industry to be in from there. And my goal was always to be my own broker.
So, I mean, going through the actual process of sort of seeing all the deals come through, what were you actually kind of doing back then before you became a broker?
So I was doing like a lot of sort of underwriting. So like the broker would speak to the client, request, all right, this is the information that we need. Once the information came in, I pretty much did all the servicing cows, I did all the research, make sure the right lender was fitted, stuff like that. And then I'll present the proposal to the broker, and then the broker would hand off to the client, and then the client picked from there. Then pretty much I just worked in the back end, so I did all the admin work, prepped the application, prepped them all the way through to settlement, and that's essentially what I did.
I mean, that's quite a lot of work. That's a big, like, the back office type stuff where you're actually looking at the credit policies and trying to make sure that there's the right sort of lender opportunities there. How did you get across all of that if you didn't have that knowledge already? Like, did you kind of lean on your mentors? Did you have people in the office that you could ask? I can wonder how you got up to scratch to get across everything you needed to know.
Well, this office was in some dude's garage with 3 other people, so it wasn't really much of an office, I can tell you that. But he had quite a lot of experience. So he actually was like one of the top brokers for Aussie home loans, and he only just went out on his own like that same year as well. And he had a lot of experience. So he could tell me, all right, if you're looking for this particular policy, go to bank X, Y, and Z. For this particular policy, go to X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And then he just said, look, listen, I'm going to give you all this homework. Learn these bank's policies. I'll give you all this PDF. Just read them over the weekend, and then you're going to know them. And I learned them that way.
Yeah, wow. So just hard graft.
Just pretty much, yeah.
So then when you came to actually choosing that you're going to go out on your own, like, this is always a big decision for a lot of people when they're starting out. Probably the biggest decision you can make is being like, how am I going to structure my business? What aggregator am I going to choose? Where do I want to be based? What kind of loans do I want to be writing? When you decided to become your sort of broker in your own right, like, what were the trigger points, I guess, for you for doing that? And what kind of business did you want to build?
Well, essentially, it all started with my brother. So my brother, David, he already had Crowd Property Capital running for roughly about 10 years or so. And he deals mostly with development and commercial finance. And he's dabbled a little bit in the residential side, but he only wrote about 4 resi loans in about, 5 years. So didn't really have much of a incentive to actually go to the resi side because it just wasn't as rewarding as development. So that's where he knew I had some experience on the way. And he's like, mate, when you're ready, we'll bring you over. We'll start having you write some residential loans. So I was like, all right, sweet. Let's do it.
Very helpful having a brother already with an established business that you could slot into.
It's only just him though. So it's still very small. And a lot of times people are like, oh, you got to be wary sometimes going into business with your family because,
what if things go wrong?
But at the end of the day, we're still brothers. So even if it does go wrong, I know we'll still mend the bridge.
I feel like it's almost easier sometimes because if things go wrong with like your siblings, just give them a dead arm and then you're fine. Like you couldn't do that if you were working professionally with someone.
Exactly, especially twice the size of him as well. So I could definitely give him a dead arm.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't want to mess with you because, as I say, as a wrestler as well. Now we want to talk a little bit about this too, which we will a little bit later. But I think like actually looking at your kind of career then, starting as a resi broker, did you decide that you were did you just use the same aggregator that your brother was using?
So he was with Connective at the time. Because he still didn't write so many loans, he still needed a mentor. And technically, I still needed a mentor as well.
Yeah.
And Connective at that time said, okay, you can only choose these 5 specific mentors that are in our mentorship program. And they were located in like Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, wherever. There was no one local, and they wouldn't allow us to go out and source someone locally as well. So that's where we started like, all right, maybe we should step away from Connective and find somewhere else that will allow us to pretty much choose our mentor.
Yeah.
And then that's where we came across LMG, which have just been absolutely fantastic. I seriously think they've got the best systems out there at this time because I've done loan writing for AFG. I've done them for VOW as well. I seriously think LMG is the best aggregator out there because they just invest so much money in the systems that they use.
Wow, and that's a little advert there for LMG and
there you go, a little
testimonial for you. So what is it that you like specifically about their systems? Like, is it the tech? Is it the process? Is it the fact they let you use
It's definitely the tech. Just the fact that I can put something into the CRM and it translates over to apply online, to me, I'm just like, oh, you're a winner.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yeah. I mean, something as basic as that. I feel like a lot of aggregators are working on their CRM systems, so in order to do that and reduce some of the inefficiencies of the double data entry. But yeah, I can imagine that something like that is quite small. And also, like letting you choose your mentor. Who did you end up going with?
So there's a bloke called Anthony Ramsey who's in charge of Your Complete Finance. So he's located out towards Lake Macquarie as well. So he's only about a 40-minute drive away from me. So it worked out perfect.
Perfect. And what do you use your mentor most for?
Definitely a lot of scenarios. Because I got like that sort of background into loan writing, I sort of understand which sort of lenders to sort of choose and what I need to do for first home buyers, what I need to do for investors, finance consolidations, things like that.
Yeah.
It's just more for when it comes to really, really complex stuff. for example, like I've had a lot of like, oh, there's this company trust that's paid into a family trust.
Yeah,
And like,
horrid.
horrid stuff. And I've never touched that before. So that's where he sort of really came in. When it's come to the real complex stuff, he's helped me out a lot.
Yeah. And I think that's so good having someone that's you're able to lean on to be able to ask those questions. Because I can imagine if you're kind of doing it on your own, like so difficult to have enough time in the day, firstly, to go and find all the answers you need, but also I think to even know what questions you need to be asking half the time. You're kind of a bit like, what should I be talking about here and what should I be looking out for? So having the experience behind you in the form of a mentor is really great. Can you remember what your first deal was that settled?
I do actually, yeah.
What was it?
So it was this couple, I think they were in the early 50s. So pretty much they had this home loan and they also had all this credit card debt, all this personal loan debt, all these car debts. And plus they owed about $20,000 to their family as well because this guy tried to start his own business and unfortunately, it just sort of backfired. So he fell behind, had a lot of mortgage stress. So I was able to consolidate all of his debt into one payment. And now he's paying $500 less a month than what he would, previously.
Before.
And
Amazing.
that's just like, oh, that's really cool. That's really cool to do.
We're talking a lot about debt consolidation, I think, at the moment, because a lot of people in the last couple of years have had, I think, this sort of pressure and stress, and particularly, for small businesses, for example, lots of them having like a really tough time. So when you look at debt consolidation, do you typically look at rolling it into a mortgage? Do you take out a personal loan? Like, how did you actually structure that?
So pretty much I just said, look, let's just not get into any more debt than we need to at this time. So let's just put everything into one consolidation. Just put everything to one debt at this one time. Sure, you'd be reset back to a 30-year term, but if you just structure it in a way where if you can afford the repayments that you're doing now and still at this new rate and this new term, then you will be paying it off roughly about 10, 11 years quicker than you would otherwise.
Yeah.
So I just said, let's just put it all in a 30-year term along here. Let's just get you, pretty much stress-free about it. And then we can work on, all right, let's try to pay it down. Let's try to make this 30-year term turn to a 20-year term.
Yeah, great. So sort of doing those incremental steps and saving along the way. And I think this is, again, why it's so important when people talk to brokers, because they probably wouldn't have known that if they hadn't had talked to you.
Exactly. And now they're in a position right now where they actually called me not too long ago where they want to buy another property now. So, I was able to put them in that position to actually do that. And, it's really rewarding to see that happen.
I want to talk to you a little bit more about how you actually get your deals in through the door and your process for doing that. And we'll get into that just after this. So when you come to actually becoming a broker in your own right, you've got to find your own business, you've got to generate leads. I mean, how do you do that? And how did you find, for example, this couple, how did you find your first clients?
So this is actually the part that I think I'm struggling with the most is actually finding and sourcing out my own leads as well, because that's something I've never had to do. So for this one, it was actually quite lucky because my brother, a lot of stuff trickles down from my brother because a lot of times they want to, cash out some equity to do some development work or something like that. Or he just simply knows a lot of people that just, need help. So it actually came from my brother, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's very handy. And then so now moving forward, I mean, looking at that sort of lead generation piece, and this is something I think for new brokers particularly always really difficult, and something we're talking about in the New Broker Academy coming up in the New Broker Academy in June, which goes to Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, is looking at, well, how do you find clients? Because especially if you're out of industry, you don't really necessarily know heaps of homeowners or potential home buyers. So looking at how do you do it, I feel like you could lean into the wrestling thing, to be honest.
Well, that's what I've been starting to do recently because when I first started out, I wanted to keep everything so separate. And then people are always like, oh, you got to find your niche. Like, you got to be your first home buyer niche. You got to be like an investment niche. You got to have a debt consolidation niche. But there's so many first home buyer niches. Everyone has their own niche essentially. So I thought, why not me be my own niche essentially? And that's like being a pro wrestler and also being a mortgage broker as well. Doesn't really correlate like a lot, but you'd be surprised how many fans come to me afterwards now and just say, hey, look, listen, how do I buy a home?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, sweet, this is a foot in the door.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I saw that, I just started, okay, that's combined wrestling and mortgage brokering.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like a lot of wrestlers as well. I mean, you've got to like finance a lot of stuff to be like going into all the competitions, like your outfits, I imagine. Like, where are they coming from? You've
so
got
expensive.
personal loans for those sort of things.
You do, yeah. you definitely need a good safety net to sort of, get into wrestling. Because put it this way, like, there's no professional wrestler in Australia that's doing it full time.
Yeah.
Unless your name is Robbie Eagles.
Yeah.
So it's not a full-time job. It's just more of a hobby on the side at the moment. But, we're doing our best to try to make it a full-time job for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've started talking about it, so I'm going to continue now. How did you get into that in the first place?
I just never grew up. honestly.
It's because you had a brother. You just like, I was just
yeah.
pinning him to the floor, so
Oh,
thought I'd do it semi-professionally.
Not necessarily. So, like, my brothers are roughly about 10, 15 years older than me. So, you know, they could easily beat me up when I was.
So you had to learn survival.
You could say that, but I was bigger than them by the time I was 12 anyway, so it's no dramas at all. Yeah, I just started watching it with my dad when I was like 8 years old, and I just never turned it off. And then one day I just sort of Googled wrestling academies in Canberra, because I was in Canberra at the time, and it came up with this mob over in Canberra that said, yeah, come over Tuesday, we'll take you in. And that was like 12 years ago now, so
wow,
it's been a while.
Yeah, and I think like one of the sort of things that I was sort of interested in as well is looking at, you know, well, how do you manage that? Because I don't know about you, but I feel like wrestling, I don't know if you can tell us about me, I've never actually done it.
Really?
Yeah, I know, shocking.
You could have fooled me.
Yeah, I know. I look like a wrestler, but actually not. How do you actually even like kind of turn that off? Because I can imagine like being in the mind frame of wrestling someone and trying to like get them to the floor, get them into a headlock or like, you know, whatever it may be. How do you then switch that off when you kind of come out the ring? You're not like all like supercharged.
Oh, you definitely get supercharged afterwards, and it takes like a good probably 12 hours before you sort of calm down from it.
Wow.
Especially when it comes to these bigger shows that we're doing at the moment, because you're just like, oh, I want to rewatch my match. I want to stay in that moment for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're like, oh, my lower back hurts, or oh, damn, I think my hamstring's a bit tweaked. That's where you're like, all right, let's calm down. Let's do an ice bath. Let's do something, and then just relax.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about wrestling?
Honestly, it's probably the community that we're in, because I wrestle for a promotion called PWA, so Pro Wrestling Australia, and honestly, we've just one big, tight family. And I can guarantee if it wasn't for everyone that's in the wrestling, I would not be doing it, because it's very stressful. It's very, like, hit and miss sometimes. It's a roller coaster, essentially. You can be in the highest of highs, and then all of a sudden, you're not on the next show. Yeah. And it's very, very heartbreaking, but everyone's a family. Everyone wants to see everyone succeed, and it just makes it so much easier. And
what's your walk-on song? Your entry song.
Oh, this is gonna sound really weird, but it's a sort of rendition of "I Will Survive." So it's like,
I think it's a great one.
It's a great one, absolutely. Yeah. It's like, because we got these two, because my tag team partner Ricky South, we're just two big, intimidating men. We're probably the biggest, like physically, in Australia that do this at this moment.
Just because lots of people can't actually see you, can you tell us what your like weight is or what your like?
Yeah, so I'm roughly about 6'3" and I'm 120 kilos.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
heavy.
and he's the smaller of the two. He's about 6'2" and about 115 kilos.
Wow.
So he's a smaller one.
I wouldn't want to mess with that. Yeah.
Oh no, a lot of people don't.
And you're called The Regime.
The Regime.
How did you come up with that name?
That was all Ricky's idea along there. So I was in a previous tag team. So my name was Backman. I used to be in a tag team with a guy called Jack Payne, and we're all called Back Pain. You know, keep it simple.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. And then all of a sudden, Jack Payne just decided it's not for me anymore. I want to retire. I want to become a cop, do whatever. I was like, all right, cool, you do that. And then Ricky's like, how about you join me? I've always thought about having my own sort of regime. And the two of us are the size of the regime, so it just makes sense.
This makes sense. I know I'm going to get this question because I know a lot of people listen to this in the gym or when they're working out, and so many people would be like, mate, how do you bulk up? Quick tips for people looking to put on some weight or, you know, gain some kilos.
Well, I also get this question a lot from my trainees at the wrestling, not the brokering. So the people say like, oh, how can I put on weight? I'm like, just grab one rotisserie chicken, one loaf of bread, and eat it every day. Just keep eating. Just keep eating. If you think you're full, you're not full. Keep eating. Okay.
Wow. So just eat as much protein as you can.
Not necessarily protein, but you got to like balance it out with good amount of carbs, good amount of fats. You know, it's no point going to Macca's 3 days a week, or 3 times a day, and be like, yep, I'm just going to eat everything I can. You got to balance it. I would say have about 70% of a clean diet and 30% just dirty bulk.
Okay, good. Well, there we go. I'll get back to broking now. But you talked about how wonderfully supportive the wrestling community is. And I kind of feel like that way about the broking community. It's quite an open community. And I'm so privileged that in this podcast, you know, so many people are willing to share their story with me and talk about their journey, including yourself. When it comes to actually broking, I mean, what is it that you love most about the job you do now?
So at the moment, I just love helping people. So I love it when like first home buyers don't think they have a chance of getting into the market today. And I love being able to say, no, actually there is a solution along here. Even if it is like a 12-month solution where it's like we might have to go for like a lower tier lender, but like in 12 months time, that's get you back to one of these upper tiers, and then seeing their eyes and like bright up and be like, oh, I can actually do this. This is amazing. And same thing as well. If someone's like in really, really bad debt at this time, if I can help them out with their debt consolidation, I'm like, this feels pretty good.
Yeah. So what's the things that you're sort of doing, I guess, day to day to help you get as much done as possible? Because I know that obviously, particularly in your first few years, you're all just chasing like settlements and trying to get the business started, get your name out there, get the loans through the door, make some money, you know, try and like get some return on investment from all the kind of like training and things you have to do. What's your process for actually getting a loan written? So let's say I came to you and was like, hey, Andrew, I need a loan for my first home. What's your process?
So obviously I'll have either a Zoom meeting or just over the phone. Understand your sort of position right now. We spend roughly about half hour, 45 minutes talking about your debt, your liabilities, what your future plans are, what roadblocks you potentially have as well. And then I sort of summarize that all in one big email, being like, all right, just so I don't misunderstand anything, we've talked about this, 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 and this. And my solution is, why don't we go LMI waiver here, or why don't we have a family guarantee here? Whatever the solution is. And then I send that over to you. We then send out what's called a file invite link as well. So you can provide all your pay slips, IDs, bank statements, liabilities, whatever it is. That's all handed in there.
So you've sent out a file invite link, and then they return all the documents. What's the next step?
They return all the documents. Then I do the servicing, and then I scour the market along here, do all my pricing as well. Then I determine, all right, cool, these are the best 3 or 4 lenders that you could go with at this current time. Then I'll highlight, all right, this is their interest rate. This is if they charge any application fees. If there's an offset, this is what they're going to charge for you to have the offset account as well. And this is what it's going to look like on a monthly repayment.
Yeah.
Based on your selection, you tell me yay or nay. And then once you say yay, I'll then start the application in the background.
Do you use any tech apart from File Invite to help you do all that process? Like whether it's booking in meetings or transcribing or using something for, maybe looking at servicing?
When I tried transcribing, like I find I can't talk on the phone or Zoom and type at the same time. I have to write it down myself.
Yeah.
And then I just describe it. And then I describe myself those notes later on. But in terms of servicing, Quickly has been an absolute, godsend. Essentially, it's so easy. I wouldn't say easy, but it's so beneficial just to put everything into one system along here and be like, all right, services with this lender, this lender, this lender, this lender. Makes my life so much easier.
Yeah, a lot faster as well. And then when it comes to actually kind of generating the post-settlement stuff, so do you have any kind of process for that? Is there any like frequent or milestone timelines that you use to get back in contact with your clients? Yeah,
so essentially my system generates, especially on my CRM, it generates when everyone has a birthday. I just say, hey, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. By the way, your mortgage is sitting here. You're looking pretty sweet right now. I wouldn't recommend moving.
Oh, great. So you do a little like update on their birthday.
On their birthday, yep. I do that. Usually after settlement, I'll give them a call 1 month afterwards just to make sure that the first payment's going through and make sure they can see all their accounts and there's been no sort of hiccups when it comes there. And once we've got the clear, we're all good to go. Obviously, get them the follow-up text on their birthday. And then obviously I'll give them the 12-month annual review. Well, I'll just review the loan I'll review the loan at the time and see like, all right, cool. They've paid quite a significant amount off of their mortgage. Maybe we can talk about refinancing, getting on a better rate, or potentially getting on a fixed rate, depending on what the market's doing at the time.
Yeah, and the market changing is really interesting. Obviously, the whole time you've been broking, this is the first time rates have started coming down.
Yes.
So how have you been finding that sort of rate cycle? Are you seeing a lot more demand and interest from people now that people are thinking perhaps I can service? Or, you obviously must be spending more time also talking to people when you're sending them happy birthday texts to be like, oh God, by the way, your loan is actually potentially able to be repriced because loans are coming down?
Oh, it was so good because actually someone had their birthday late May and I was able to say, hey, good news. At the beginning of June, your rate's actually going to come down. So happy days.
Yeah.
So that was really good. I wouldn't say there's a sort of whole lot because I'm still focusing on like a lot of sort of people who want to buy now at this time. I'm not getting a lot of refinance referrals at this current time. I know that's going to come in the near future. But they are still like, oh, but I saw rates at like 1.98% 4 years ago. So when's that going to happen? I'm like, probably never again.
Yeah.
So getting over that sort of hurdle to like sort of slowly disappoint them, be like, look, listen, you're not going to get those rates ever again. This is what we're looking at now. The rates are coming down, but that's continue on a variable rate. And then once we see that, it's not going to get any lower, that's when we'll look at fixing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is so difficult, isn't it? I mean, we say it's never going to get down that way. Touch wood. Hopefully, there's not another pandemic or another major crisis that leads to needing to be that low. But yeah, absolutely. Very, very sweet days for those brokers that were operating.
I'm just thinking about all the times when like the brokers I was working with being like, oh, they didn't want to go on a 3-year fix 1.98%. Nowadays, everyone would be out in the streets, doing everything they can to get onto that now. So
yeah, I remember turning down a fixed rate in 2022 when I got my loan, and rates was not like as low then, but they were still pretty low. And I remember turning down a fixed rate, and I think it was like 3.8 or 3.9, and I was a bit like, nah, it's crazy.
That's so high. Goddamn, look at that.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about some of the challenges and opportunities in broking, your plans for building your business moving forward, and what your advice would be for other new brokers just starting out. And we'll get into that just after this. So, Andrew, when you think about your first 12 months in broking, I mean, what have been the biggest obstacles, I suppose, or challenges for you in that time?
Definitely getting the clients in the door, getting that initial inquiry first off. I think that's just been the biggest challenge at this time. Obviously, like I get like a few stuff coming from my brother that trickles down from all his development stuff, but they're like, all right, we're in a company trust that's paid to a family trust that's paid into my parents who has their own trust sort of thing. So there's a lot of branches that I got to sort of dissect. And at the end of the day, it's just like, it'll be much easier to go for this via commercial anyways. So it's definitely sourcing out my own leads along there, because I don't mind doing everything from start to finish, from doing like the initial call all the way through to settlement. Like it feels like I'm in control of it the whole way. Obviously, once demand sort of gets, beyond my control, that's where I'll look at getting help. But at this time, I just need to get more leads through the door along there. And I've been doing the old fashioned, walking into real estate agents, accountant's office, conveyancer office, just introducing myself, especially around the sort of like Macquarie area, because I'm still so new to the area. I can be like, hey, I'm just a new broker that just moved down here. I would love to collaborate and see if we can, potentially help each other out sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there's other ways that I'm looking at getting new leads at the moment, which I don't think any broker has done at this time. And that's essentially reach out to like podcasts that I would regularly listen to, like any football podcast, wrestling podcast, Star Wars podcast, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'll go out there and be like, hey, is there any chance that I could potentially, become a sponsor of this and try to,
get some business that way. So
that's something I'm looking at doing, and time will tell to see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll have to check back in with you and be like, which ones did you choose? Yeah,
absolutely.
I think a wrestling one would be a good one if you're going to be leaning into that. I think that'd be a good one for you. When you look at then the biggest sort of opportunities for you that you're really excited about, I mean, what is it at the moment that you're sort of thinking, it's such a great time to be a broker? Like, or do you not think that at all?
I definitely thought that about 3-4 years ago when everything's at 1.98%. But just the biggest opportunity now, because especially with because the Labor government obviously just won, and obviously just the first home guarantee as well.
Yep.
So that's going to be a big one. I'm very excited to see the inquiry come through about that.
I'm very excited to see the detail on that. We haven't had any detail yet, so.
But it's still going to push a lot of inquiry, I feel like, and either they can be like, yes, you can do it, or like, oh, we can't do it, but there could be potentially other ways you can get in a property as well. So as long as I get someone in the door, that's where I'm like, all right, cool. I can talk to you. We can talk through the process. I can tell you this is why you qualify for this. This is why you don't qualify for this. And then we'll work out a solution. Yeah.
Awesome. And then when you think about, I guess, the things that you've implemented or done that have been really like, I guess, sort of highlights, so things that have either helped you in your broking career so far or your loan writing career so far, or things that you think, this has been a real like light bulb moment where you're like, thank goodness I've discovered this. Is there anything that you kind of credit to really helping you on your way?
It's going to sound, back on my loan writing days, I felt like there was moments where I was just like, I don't think I could do this. And then there was this one particular deal that I helped go across the line where I was just like, no, I can do this. This is really good. It was a case where like two brothers were trying to buy a property together. They had debts beyond like a lot of borrowing capacity's control, essentially. And I was able to sort of help him out, and I was able to find a solution for the broker. Like, hey, we can actually take him to this lender here because they service for this. But then, obviously they got to have a plan put in place to try to make that debt as low as I possibly can. And they did it. And then 12 months later, they refinanced. And I was like, oh, I put that together.
Yeah.
So and that gave me confidence being like, okay, I can absolutely do this. I came up with the solution on my own.
Yeah.
And it came out with a good outcome. So that's all I need.
Great. Yeah. A little bit of reward for problem solving.
Oh, it was 6 months of misery.
Yeah.
But it was good at the end. It was worth it.
Yeah. I think also one thing I'm always curious to know is like for brokers who are just coming into the space, like, is there anything weird that you're like, why on earth do we do this? Or like any kind of bugbears you have about how broking operates or what the system does?
I can understand it. It's still frustrating though. It's just the whole compliance side of things. I think a lot of brokers will sort of say that. It's like, we don't need all this sort of, we don't need to tell you about every single detail about that or that or that. But it's also just keeping on top of it. That's something where I'm still sort of learning the systems where I got to provide all the compliancy documents as I submit, not as it's settled. And sometimes I've lacked in that. I'm like, oh, I forgot to do this at this time. And then I've had to sort of backtrack everything on there. So I would say definitely keeping on top of my compliance is probably something I need to work on.
Yeah. Well, I thought many brokers will be nodding along with that and being like, yes, boo. But it's important because if anything does go wrong, at least you've checked all
I
your
understand
boxes.
it. I understand it, but it's just like, oh, God, I forgot to do that.
Yeah. And when it looks to like building your business now, so looking at maybe the next 12 months, what do you hope to achieve in the next year?
I don't want to put like a number figure into it as well, because if I don't achieve that number figure, obviously it'll be very disappointing. But I've always said in 12 months' time, if I can have 10 steady leads come in my door every week, I think I can make it work. I think I can make it successful.
Yeah. Good. Well, no time like the present. If you obviously are sort of looking at building that out and hopefully getting on those podcasts and advertising and doing some more things,
absolutely.
like getting out in the community as well, finding more Lake Macquarians to actually come in. It's Lake Macquarie, isn't it?
It's yeah. I don't think we're Lake Macquarians.
Lake Macquarians? Is that why I just made that up?
I think so. I think we just call ourselves Lake Max.
Lake Max. Okay.
Yeah.
If you can find any Lake Max to come in and give you some business, that'd be great. And then if you were talking to any other new brokers, maybe listening to this, who've just started out, or if there's something that you wish you knew when you first started, what advice would you give them?
About all the fees and stuff that goes into actually running your own sort of brokerage. So like all the aggregated fees, obviously setting up if you're an accountant, doing like all the sorts of marketing, building your own website, like all these fees can really, really add up really quickly.
Yeah.
So I'd say either if you already have like a safety egg to sort of, lean back on just so to help supplement your business, or if you already have all this inquiry coming through and then you can just, as soon as you start, you're just up and running. Because for me, it took me like a good probably 3 or 4 months before I even talked to like my first real person.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably work on trying to build a connection before you start brokering, if that sort of makes sense. So try to like talk to people within your local community and be like, oh, by the way, I'm looking at doing this. And then, once I'm set up June 1st or whatever it is, like let's have a chat then.
Yeah. And of course, like as you sort of was talking about, your first year's a lot of hard work, a lot of like stress as well, like thinking about, can I make this a success? What do you do to kind of shake off that stress? Like what do you do to unwind and de-stress each
just suplex and beat the hell out of people. That's what I do to unwind. It's great.
Professionally beat the hell out of people.
Professionally. Oh, yes. in front of 500 people in a very skin-tight leotard.
That's the way to do it, yeah. If I was going to beat someone up, that's how I do it too.
Oh, exactly. Make it theatrical.
Andrew Backman Wallace, thank you very much for your time today talking to us on New Broker, and looking forward to seeing how your career progresses into the future.
Oh, so am I.
If you've got any questions for me or for Andrew, do feel free to reach out. You can reach me at editor@theadvisor.com.au and Andrew Wallace at CPC Lending Solutions. Obviously, do check out as well the backlog of advisor podcasts, including Elite Broker, New Broker, In Focus, What's Making Headlines, and Women in Finance podcast. It's all there on the Advisor Podcast channel. And we catch you next time for another episode on the Advisor Podcast Network.